on, boxing fans? You're watching Saved by the Bell podcast with a DA. Before we get into this video, like the video, share the video, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel. You're here with me and my co-host, Dark Side of the Moon. Now, Dark Side, you've been away for a minute. We'll get onto that in a minute. But before we get into any further details, I'm going to give you a quick, brief description of today's episode. We're going to be talking about the Derek Chisora fight against Otto Wallin. Quick breakdown, review, recap, what's next, blah, blah, blah. Let's move on from there. We're going to talk about the passing of John Cooney. It's always a sad day when someone in the boxing community passes away. Moving on from that, we're going to be talking about the weekend, the upcoming weekend, the events. We've got a lot to talk about, man, in this episode. We've got Jack Catterall's in action. Baby Anderson is back in action. We've got Keyshawn Davis, Abdullah Mason. We've got Xander Zayas. It's a lot going on. We're going to get into that very, very shortly. But before anything, Dark Side, how you doing? Welcome back to the podcast. How is it going? Talk to us.
Yeah, I'm doing much better, man. Thank you for asking. I'm just glad to be over all of that. It was just like one problem after the next problem after the next problem. And I'm just glad to be back doing the podcast with you, man. Not just for us, because we enjoy it, but also for the viewers, man. So I'm glad to be back. But how you been doing, my bro? You been good as well?
First of all, I want to say it's great to have you back. You know what I mean? The podcast felt a bit empty without Dark Side. It felt a bit, you know what I mean? I felt a bit like, I don't know, I felt a bit weird because we started this journey together, and then obviously he was offline for a minute. Understandably, he was ill, you know what I mean, bruv? You gotta recover. You know, in the words of Elvis, Ahoga, once a soldier, always a soldier. So the soldier has to be ready. But yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. 2025, we've got a lot going on. The boxing world is busy, man. So much news has been coming out, so much stories, so much upcoming fights have been confirmed. It's absolutely crazy, mind-boggling, shall I say. But let's not get sidetracked. Let's talk about today's episode. Let's kickstart things off with obviously the fight between Derek Chisora and Otto Wallin. Do you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna kickstart things off straight away with saying, I was impressed by Derek Chisora. I didn't see that kind of a performance from Derek Chisora in this late of his stage, at his age that he's at right now. I did think that he was going to put up a good performance, but not that kind of performance. Wow, it just shocked me. Maybe he wants to finish his career with a bang, and he wants to go out in the best form and the best shape that he's ever been in his entire career. Not just mentally, but physically as well. Because we've seen Derek Chisora over the years evolve as the hard man, the lunatic. Tables are getting thrown at people in the press conferences. Glass bottles are getting smashed. Like, we've seen all that. And now we've come to this Derek Chisora versus Otto Wallin. Fucking hell, mate. Fucking hell. Man. Obviously, Derek Chisora is Derek Chisora. He's Del Boy. He's a British icon. He's gave us many entertaining fights over the years. And the title for this fight between him and Otto Wallin was The Last Dance. Now, people may have thought that this was his last fight because it's titled The Last Dance. But it was, the meaning behind The Last Dance was, this was the last fight in Britain. The last fight in England, United Kingdom, however you want to say it. The next fight is probably going to be on a Riyadh season card. Big money, big bucks, and then call it a night. But before we get into that, let's talk about the fight itself. I was impressed by Derek Chisora's performance. Otto Wallin, and you know what? Yeah, I kind of gave him a bit more respect, a bit more credit. I thought he was going to do a much better. I thought he was going to come in much better. I thought he was going to perform much better. And I gave him a bit too much credit. I thought he had a bit more minerals than that. Yeah. But it clearly shows that when he's put up against a guy that's aggressive, that's front-footed, that likes to throw power bombs, he ain't got the bottle. You know what I mean? Yeah. He ain't got the minerals. You know what I mean? We saw that in this fight. It was pretty sad to see. I personally think the only reason why Otto Wallin is a boxer is because of his height and his reach and all that. If he was an average fighter, average height, 5'8", 5'9", I don't think he would even be a boxer. It's only because it's almost like basketball players. If you're tall, if you're very tall in life and you're a basketball player, naturally you're gonna go play basketball, right?
Yeah.
Because you're tall. It makes sense. You fit the criteria. Same thing for the heavyweight division. Some of these guys are only in the game because they fit the criteria because they're tall and big. Do you know what I mean? And they think they can get away with it. No, no, you can't get away with it. Because when you come up against Del Boy put you on your ass. I mean, 2 knockdowns. I'm pretty sure you saw the last one. Man was levitating in the air. He was levitating. He went flying. I've never seen a heavyweight. I've never seen a heavyweight go from one side of the ropes to the other side of the ropes, flying.
That's crazy.
You would have thought he was on a magic carpet. You would have thought Harry Potter did he cast a spell on him, made him levitate in the air. That was crazy. Ultimately, I was pretty happy with Derek Chisora's performance. I was happy with the results. I would say one thing. On one of the judges' scorecards, 114, 116. How does that make sense? But before we get into that one there, Dark Side, talk to them. What do you think of this fight? What happened? Talk to us.
Well, it's very similar to yourself, to be honest. I thought Derek Chisora did a lot better than I expected. The bookies had it a 2-1 favorite for Otto Wallin to win by unanimous. Kind of tells you what we would have thought, which is that, you know, Otto's the bigger guy, the taller guy, the guy with more reach, the guy with, I would say, is somewhat of a more rangier type of boxer, somewhat more of a technical fighter, but it turned out to be totally the opposite of what we thought. You know, Del Boy, he always brings one thing. There's a reason why they call him War Chisora, and that's because he really does go to war. I don't know if anyone picked up on the volley of shots that he threw, but I think he threw 28 punches unanswered, with not a majority, but I'd say, let's say 50% of those landed good flush shots on Otto Wallin, body and head. And I have to be honest, I don't remember the last time I saw a heavyweight throw 28 shots like that. I have to give Del Boy credit, especially at his age, being 41. You know, it's not easy to keep your stamina, especially at his weight. It was a heavy weight for him, if I'm honest. He came 259, which I think is a bit heavier than what he normally comes in at. And I have to be honest, like, his head movement is amazing. Like, I don't know how he does it. It's kind of slow, but it's very, very effective. Like, it's very hard to hit the guy when he gets into that mood of, I'm just going to dip my head low and slip to the side. And that was effective. The other thing that I picked up on, which I think is the major key to the victory in this fight, wasn't just the knockdowns. It was the fact that Derek Chisora kept switching to the southpaw stance. And I don't think that Otto Wallin was ready for that. Because if you go back and watch the fight a second time, look every time he boxes and tries to throw his jab from the orthodox position, and then look when he throws the jab from a southpaw position. Obviously, he's right-handed, so that means it's not just a jab, it's also a power jab. So I think Del Boy, he did absolutely fantastic, and I'm very proud of him. What performance for his last performance. On the other hand, talking about Otto Wallin, I have to say very disappointed. I thought he would have put up more of a fight. Like you said, he didn't show any bottle. Every time Del Boy was putting it on him, all he was doing is trying to defend for his life and hope he doesn't get knocked out. So I did also see that, you know, Otto Wallin was devastated to lose that fight at the end. He looked very, very upset losing. I guess he kind of thought, well, Derek Chisora's 41. He's an older fighter. You know, he's been in the game for a long time. I should be able to sort of do some damage to him. If not, then I should be able to get him out of there. And the other thing I will say is, what I've noticed about Otto Wallin, I don't like to pull fighters down, but I do think he is a little bit of a dirty fighter. Like, I noticed when Derek Chisora got cut, he was doing everything he possibly could to rub that cut, to hit that cut. And I know it's boxing. We want to win. And if there's a cut, you take advantage of it. But it's the way he goes about doing it. It's not the first time, not the second time. It's now the third time I've seen him do that in a fight. So I'd like to see a little bit more class from him in future fights. It's not the end for him. He's still fairly young, and we have to see what he does next.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't know. Me personally, I don't really see much of Otto Wallin after this fight. He's not a banger. He's not a boxer. Otto Wallin, he's not even an exciting fighter, bro. Do you know what I mean? He don't bring no excitement. I don't. Who would you put him up against? I don't know. But as far as putting someone up against you, let's talk about Derek Chisora. Now, you saw at the end of the fight, he had Skepta, Tiny Temper, and Lethal Bizzle.
Yeah.
Holding up posters. Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, and Alexander Usyk. He was asking the fans. Derek Chisora was asking the crowd. He was asking the fans in the stadium, make noise on who you want me to fight next. Whether it's Triple D, whether it's AJ, whether it's the Ukrainian Usyk. And I think the most kind of cheers and response that we got was for Anthony Joshua, right? Me personally, I would say to Derek Chisora, you pick. This is your last fight. You go and pick who you want to go and fight. It's only right. You deserve to call it, call the shot on your last fight. You deserve to call it. Us fans, we're always going to be happy with whatever you pick. Del Boy, whenever Del Boy fights, the whole of Britain is behind him. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, he did ask the question, so I'm gonna have to respond. You know what I mean? Who do I think he should fight? Personally, I don't know. I honestly don't know. If you put him against Triple D is too young, too fast, too strong.
Yeah.
Put him up against Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk is too skillful.
Yeah.
Put him up against AJ. It might just be the last time we see Derek Chisora ever in a fight. You know what I mean? So it's pretty hard, isn't it? It's pretty hard options for Derek Chisora. I'm hearing some other rumors besides these guys. I'm hearing Derek Chisora versus Francis Ngannou. That would be a mega fight, mega money fight. That fight might even generate more money than any of these three because of Turkey Al Sheikh.
Yeah, true.
And I'm hearing these guys, they might be fighting all in Africa, in Congo. I'm hearing Anthony Joshua versus Martin Bakoli. It's going to be the headliner. The co-main event is going to be Derek Chisora and maybe Daniel Dubois, maybe Usyk, or maybe even Francis Ngannou. Who knows? There's a lot of rumors going around in the boxing community, but I would be happy with whoever Derek Chisora fights, man. Quickly, give me your thoughts on this.
Well, my thoughts are they're all difficult fights for Chisora. But I'm looking at it from more like a technical standpoint, if you will. You've got an opportunity, let's call it an opportunity, to fight for the IBF title. Something that, in my opinion, look, it's the world of boxing and he's a heavyweight. He could potentially knock out a Daniel Dubois / Joseph Parker because we have to wait till February 22nd to find out who's going to be the champion at that point. But I think, you know, it's an opportunity for him to fight for a world title. And if he could become world champion, that's another box ticks at the end of his career, and he could be extra happy with that. On the other hand, if you're looking at it from a money point of view, I think AJ is probably the most obvious answer to go with. And I think Usyk, as much as I think that Del Boy gave him the best run for his money out of most people that have fought him, maybe outside of Tyson Fury, I think it's going to be the same result, but it might be slightly worse this time because I think Usyk he's gotten better. That was his first fight or second fight at the heavyweight division, I think. And it was a good test for him then, but he's grown into the heavyweight division now. He's not new in the heavyweight division. So I think it's probably going to be the same result. He'll probably outbox Derek Chisora, and that'll be the result of it. But I did want to just mention about the whole Africa thing. I heard Derek Chisora talk on a Seconds Out interview and said that he will not be fighting in Africa and specifically not in the Congo, because you may not be aware of this right now, but there are massive problems happening in the Congo right now. There is a lot of like protesting going on and stuff like this. So Del Boy said, I'm not doing it in Africa. So sorry to disappoint all the fight fans who are hoping that he would have a final fight in Africa. But that's just what Del Boy said. And if you want to check it, It's an interview with Radio Raheem on Seconds Out Boxing. So you can go and check that out if you want to hear it for yourself. But my final thought on it is, if I had to pick, and it's got to be one to pick, and I'm looking at it like he could potentially lose, there's a high chance, I think AJ is probably a good option because it's going to leave him with a big paycheck. It is his last fight, so he's looking to make as much as he can. I think AJ is probably the most obvious answer for that.
Most definitely. I mean, listen, either way, whoever Derek Chisora picks, we're going to be tuned. You know what I mean? We're going to watch the last fight. All right, cool. Let's quickly move on, from Derek Chisora. Let's talk about the passing of John Cooney. Now, on Saved by the Bell podcast, it's always a sad time when anyone in the boxing community passes away, whether it's boxers, whether it's trainers, coaches, managers. You get the idea. Anytime someone from the boxing community passes away, it's a sad day. And as a combat sports athlete, this is the most dangerous sport in the world. Yeah. Boxing is the most dangerous sport in the world for your health because of the constant blows you're taking to your brain, you're taking to your head. And not to mention the sparring as well. So people always forget about sparring. They think, okay, maybe you might have 2 fights a year. Oh, woohoo. But you have to understand the amount of sparring you do in a week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of sparring that goes on in a week. So boxing is the most dangerous sport for a combat sports athlete in the whole world. And I think people always forget that. And this is a prime example. Let me read you the article just quickly. John Cooney passed away age 28. So young.
Yeah.
So young. Absolutely crazy. Let me just read you the article quickly. Super featherweight boxer John Cooney, 28, has died after his defeat by Welshman Nathan Howells in Belfast last Saturday. The Irish boxer suffered an intracranial hemorrhage and had surgery to relieve pressure on his brain following the bout at the Ulster Hall. Galway man Cooney was assessed by the medical team in the ring before being taken out on a stretcher and being transferred to the Royal Victory Hospital in Belfast. Absolutely crazy. John Cooney, aged 28, so young, passed away. Let's just talk about John Cooney's record. John Cooney had a record of 11 wins, 3 of those coming via knockout, and 1 loss on his resume. It's sad, man. I mean, I've mentioned the age 28. You could be 50, 60. Once you passed away in the ring, it's very sad because ultimately John Cooney passed away in the ring. He had to he got taken out on a stretcher. He passed away officially in a hospital, but his last physical stance was in the ring.
Yeah.
After that, he got put on a stretcher and taken to hospital. So the last time that he was standing was in the ring. That's why he said he passed away in the ring. I'm pretty sure every combat sports athlete has got this thought in the back of their mind that this could be me one day. I could take a wrong punch and this could be me. I could be gone. And ultimately, this is a very savage sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad, man. It's sad, man. Let me get your thoughts on this, man.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say, but it's a terrible thing, really. Sometimes we overlook it. We enjoy seeing people getting knocked out, and the reality is, when people are getting knocked out or knocked down, it's a small brain damage. That's what it is, and we all enjoy it and we love it as long as the fighters recover and they go home safe, healthy, and happy at the end of the day. That's what we all look for when we're watching these boxing events. But very sadly, sometimes people get knocked down and they just don't get back up. And that is the saddest thing about the sport of the boxing, because these things do happen. But all we can do as a boxing podcast is pay our respects and say thank you to him for dedicating his life to the sport of boxing, getting in the ring and putting his life on the line for the entertainment of us. So we just want to say a massive thank you and condolences to the family of John Cooney. May he rest in peace.
Gone, but never forgotten. All right, boxing fans, let's move on to this weekend's events. We're going to talk about Valentine's Day fight night, Valentine's Day special. If you're with your bird, even if you're with your fellow, whichever way it is, we don't discriminate. You know what I mean? Make sure you stay tuned to this fight here. Go have a dinner, chill out, and make sure you watch this fight as a couple. You know what I mean? It's going to be an explosive night of boxing. It's going to be an entertaining night of boxing in America. Now, we don't really see a lot of big cards in America. It's unheard of. You might get a good main event, you might get a good co-main event, but the rest of these guys, you never hear of these guys. You don't know who these guys are, where they've come from. So to have a card this big in America, this early on in the year, I mean, it's pretty impressive, right? Valentine's Day special. Let's just get into it. I'm going to talk about a few of the fights that if you haven't heard of, you're going to hear of now, and you're going to be entertained. So we've got Denys Berinchyk versus Keyshawn Davis for the WBO World Lightweight Championship. Moving on, he's making his comeback. Who is it? Who's making the comeback? It's Jared Anderson. After him getting smashed to pieces by Martin Bakole in his last fight, I don't even want to go there. Whoa, it's giving me nightmares. But anyways, Jared Anderson is making his return to the ring against a guy called Marios Kollias. We're gonna get into it. We've got Abdullah Mason, the highly talked about American. He's a highly skilled prospect. A lot of good things I'm hearing about Abdullah Mason. He's gonna be going up against a guy called Manuel Jaimes. Someone's always got to go. Both men. No, sorry. I'm sorry. That's not this fight. I've got confused. But yeah, this is going to be a good fight. This is a fight I was going to be talking about with someone's always got to go. Xander Zayas versus Spomer. This is the fight I was meant to talk about. Sorry, guys. Someone has got to go. I love it. I love to see a fight when someone's always got to go. It just gives that special effect, you know what I mean? But we're going to get into these fights individually. Let's kickstart things off straight away with Keyshawn Davis. Wow. I mean, first of all, I want to get your thoughts on the February 14th card itself. I want to get your thoughts on the American card. I mean, we don't really see a lot of big cards like this in America. Talk to us. How do you feel about this February 14th card?
I think it's a fantastic card. It's like you said earlier, we don't normally see that very often in America. Like you said, it's normally a good main and then sometimes a good co-main. And then the rest of the card is like, yeah, it's all right, but it's nothing special. But this one is fantastic. I mean, to have that many sort of highly touted prospects on the card is quite unheard of in America. So to see that, I think is brilliant for all fight fans. It's going to mean more people are going to be willing to spend that dollar to get that fight card, especially on Valentine's Day when you're going to be chilling with your partner. It's a good opportunity to sit down and be like, hey, come, let's watch this together. Do you know what I mean? Even if you've got no partner, like many of us out there, like myself, no partner, but I'm happy to sit down and watch it with my homies. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be an epic fight card, and I really am excited for this one.
That's what I'm talking about. End of the day, whether it's a small card, whether it's a big card, if you're a boxing purist, you're going to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And speaking of boxing purists, we always like to show and shine the light on upcoming prospects on Saved by the Bell podcast. Now, I'm pretty sure most Brits will not know about Keyshawn Davis. Most Brits may not know about Abdullah Mason. Most Brits may not even know about Zayas. But it's always good to keep your eye on the opposition. Yeah, we've got a lot of great talent in England. We've got a lot going on. Whether it's the females, whether it's the males, we've got a lot going on in our own country. And it's almost a bit weird. I'm pretty sure in every division right now, in every single division, from the heavyweights down to the minimum weight, I'm pretty sure in every division there's a transition period that's taking place where the OGs are on their way out and the new school are up and coming. I'm sure in every division right now there's a transition period where the OGs are on their way out and the young G's are up and coming. Now, same thing is happening in America. The only difference is most Brits don't know about the Americans, and most Americans won't know about the up and coming prospects in England. So it's always good to keep your eyes on the Yankees. Remember, my people, this is chess, not checkers. Anyways, let's talk about Keyshawn Davis. His current record stands at 12 wins. 8 of those wins coming via knockout. His opponent, the Ukrainian, the skillful one, that's what they call him, because I'm pretty sure he's going to put up a good fight. He is the current WBO World Lightweight Champion. He's going to put up a very good fight. Denys Berinchyk, 19 wins, 9 of those coming via knockout. Now, if we look at each fighter's knockout ratio, pretty similar. 9 knockouts, 8 knockouts. The only difference is Denys is the much more experienced man. Do you know what I mean? Denys is a much more older man. So is this going to be a test? Is this going to be a case of Canelo Mayweather? Is this going to be that kind of test? Canelo at the time was the young bull, the Mexican dog coming around, wild pitbull, roar. And he came up against Mayweather, who was a veteran, an OG. Someone who had way more experience, someone who had way more fights than Canelo Alvarez at the time. And what happened? Canelo got schooled. So now I'm thinking, is this a case of, are we going to see a repeat situation? Keyshawn Davis, is he going to get schooled by Denys? Or are we going to see Keyshawn Davis become the new WBO World Lightweight Champion? That's where my mind is at right now. Does Denys have the skills to beat Denys? Of course, hands down. Does he have the power? Does he have the minerals to beat Denys? Yes, he does. Does Denys have the skills to beat Keyshawn Davis? Hell yes. Yeah. Hell yes. Does he have the experience, the power, the will, the drive? Has he got the package to beat Keyshawn Davis? Yes, he does. This is going to be a classic fight. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm thinking of a prediction. But I'm thinking, damn, why so early? Why have they put Keyshawn Davis against Denys so early? Why so early? Keyshawn has only had 12 fights. He's only had 12 fights, and he's already getting a world title shot. Why so early? Is it because the Americans, the Yankees, top rank? Is it because they see something that we don't see? Is it because they believe in Keyshawn Davis that much that they said, you know what? You've had only 12 fights. We're going to give you a world title shot. I mean, think about it. Think about it around the world. Think about it in all different divisions. When have you ever heard? I mean, it's very rare to hear of someone this early on getting a world title shot this early on in their career. I mean, just look at Moses Atuma. He's got the same record. I think he's got 11 wins, 12 wins on his belt. He's still chasing for a world title shot, but he's not going to get anytime soon. So for Keyshawn Davis to get a world title shot this early on, damn, they must think he's got the package to beat Denys Berinchyk. But before we get into any predictions, talk to us. I want to hear your thoughts on this fight.
Well, I think it's actually a great fight because I've watched Denys Berinchyk fight quite a few times now, and I always think the same thing. Like, you look at his knockout percentage, it's not that high. But then when you see how he punches, it's obvious he can punch. Like, there's no doubt he can definitely punch. But I think sometimes people forget it's not always the person with the hardest punch that will knock you out. It's about the punch that you don't see coming because you're not aware of it. And that's what people forget. Can Keyshawn beat Denys Berinchyk? I think he can. Can Denys Berinchyk beat Keyshawn Davis? I think he can. And that's why I'm loving this fight. I think this is an excellent fight. And it's one of them ones that you almost can't put your finger on who you think's going to win. Of course, I'm going to back the young G in Keyshawn Davis. I like him. I like the way he speaks and stuff like that. At one point, he was being promoted by Matchroom, and Matchroom let him go. And I think that was a mistake because he was still unbeaten at the time. And then Top Rank signed him. And I think Top Rank probably looked at him and thought, this guy's quite skillful. He's got some decent power. Let's give him a chance nice and early to see what he can do as a fairly new signing with Top Rank and see where he goes. Because, look, if he takes a loss now, it's not the end of the world for his career. He's still nice and early. He hasn't got the experience that Berinchyk has. Look, Berincyk's fought quite a few top-level oppositions in his career. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. But if I have to give a prediction, it's so hard to predict. I wouldn't know how to predict it, but I got to go with a young G, man. I'm going to go with Keyshawn Davis to win. I'm going to go on decision. I think he can win on decision. He is technically quite good. I do think that Berinchyk is probably slightly technically better, but lacking in a bit of power, whereas Keyshawn's got that power. And I believe in boxing, you need a balance of both. And I think having that power it's always a factor. You never know when you could drop your opponent, and that just changes the whole fight. So if I'm going for a prediction, I'm going to go probably a unanimous decision, points victory for Keyshawn Davis.
I'll give you my prediction as well. I'm going to throw in a wild card, a hot card. Keyshawn Davis to win via knockout decision. Keyshawn Davis is going to put Denys Berinchyk to sleep. Now, I'll tell you why I said this quickly and briefly. I did mention clearly the Americans see something that we don't.
Yeah.
If you look at knockout ratio, both men's knockout ratio is pretty similar. The only difference is Denys has more fights.
Yeah.
And Abdullah and Keyshawn Davis has less fights, but the knockout ratio is the same. So they both got power to knock each other out. Now, the difference is, if we're going to get into the mathematics of the knockout ratio, Keyshawn Davis has a higher knockout ratio.
Yeah.
Because he's had shorter fights. And this opportunity is an opportunity that you can't miss. It's an opportunity that you can't fumble the bag. And I believe Keyshawn Davis is not going to fumble this bag. Keyshawn Davis is going to knock out Denys Berinchyk and become the new WBO World Lightweight Champion. That's my prediction of that fight there. Bosh. Nice. Yes. Now let's move on to the next one. We got Jared Anderson making his return. Small baby, big baby. Don't know which one it is, because apparently the real baby Miller, the big baby Miller, has told Anderson, you're not baby Miller. You can't use that word. You know what I mean? And you know what? To be fair, after the last fight against Martin McCauley, we're gonna have to call him small baby Anderson. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know what? You know what's crazy? It's the way Anderson went into that fight against Martin McCauley with such confidence. I mean, even at the face-off, he was dancing like, yeah, man. He was dancing around like, yeah, I'm gonna make this an easy fight. Martin McCauley, you don't know about me. I'm American. Damn, what happened there? Man was flying everywhere. Man was going over the ropes. It was not a good day for Anderson. And you know what I mean, it was not a good day, especially going up against the boogeyman. And this is where some of the Americans you see, the Americans, they always live in their own little bubbles. They live in their own bubbles. They think that they are the best fighters on the planet. Now, to be fair, they've got quite a lot of great fighters.
Yeah.
As of current, and even in history, they've had quite a lot of great. But they always forget the world is much bigger than the United States of America.
Yeah.
The world is much bigger. We've got Europe, we've got England, we've got the Aussies, we've got Asia. We've got a lot of great talent all around the world, not just in America. And I feel like that was a big wake-up call for Anderson.
Yeah.
Just because you're American doesn't mean that you are the bollocks, dog's bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just wait until you fight someone like Fabio Wardley. We're gonna see what one did. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's talk about the fight that's coming up this weekend. Jared Anderson will be going up against a guy called, well, nobody knows of, but anyways, Marios Kollias. I'm going to talk about Marios Kollias' record first. 12 wins, 10 knockouts, 3 losses, 1 draw. Jared Anderson, his record, 17 wins, 15 of those coming via knockout, 1 loss on his resume. Damn. I mean, I remember a while back, there was talks about Anderson facing Wilder. That was a while back. I haven't heard those rumors as of yet, and I feel like Anderson's team may have realized, whoa, we can't afford to take another L. If you go up against Wilder and Wilder knocks me out, we can't afford to take another L. So you know what? Listen, you know what? Let's go against this guy, Marios Kollias.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a warm-up fight. This is a comeback fight. This is
Yeah.
boxing. It's a sport, and also it's a business. Now, Jared Anderson is the future American champ. You know what I mean? Like, that's their guy. So, of course, they're going to build him up again slowly. Do you know what I mean? They're going to build him up again slowly and then bring him to the world stage. Because, like I said before, there's a transition period right now. There's a transition period in all divisions, especially the heavyweight division, where the OGs are on their way out and the young Gs are up and coming rising. Do you know what I mean? Just look at David Adley. Lost against Fabio Wardley, came back and knocked out Solomon Dakers. It happens. This is the sport of boxing, and especially in the heavyweight division, you can always come back. So I personally believe this is a good decision from his team. This is a good decision from Jared Anderson to come back, have a warm-up fight, come back. You're still young. There's no rush. You're in the heavyweight game. You could be 35. Look at Derek Chisora, 41. You just fought the other day. So the heavyweight division, the age limit, it can last longer. You know what I mean? So you're young. Take your time, relax, build up your name again, have another like 4 or 5 fights under your belt, and then come back to the world stage. Then come back to maybe British level. Do you know what I mean? Take your time, relax. So I'm glad that they're taking their time. But who knows? It's heavyweight boxing. One punch can change the fight. This guy here, Marios Kollias, might even knock Anderson out.
Yeah.
You never know. But anyways, my prediction in this fight, Anderson's going to win this fight. It's a warm-up fight. It's a business. We know how the sport, the business of the boxing sport world works. We know how it works now. Anyways, that's my prediction. Talk to them. Talk to us.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said, man. I think after such a beatdown from Martin Bakole, I think there was only one thing for him to do. You got to either retire at that point, or you got to say, right, I got to get back in there, and I need to go in with an easy opponent to start with and build myself up into those bigger fights again. And I think it's totally the right decision. They put him in a guy who has decent punching power, because out of his 12 wins, he's won 10 by knockout, which tells you that when he wins, most of the time he wins by knockout, which is interesting, because I would have thought that they would have maybe put him against someone with a little less knockout percentage, but he has also had a few losses on his record as well. So I think it's a good decision by Baby Anderson's team. And as far as a prediction goes, I think, you know, most people are going to know he's going to win the fight. It's just a question of how. Is he going to be able to knock this guy out? I seem to remember one of his losses out of those 3 were by stoppage. So there is a possibility he could win by stoppage. And it wouldn't surprise me that much if he did win by stoppage. But I think I'm going to go Big Baby Anderson stoppage for this one.
Let's have it. It's a warm-up fight. It's a comeback fight. It's only right. That's the way this goes. You know what I mean? All right, let's talk about another fight here. You know, we love talking about fights when someone old has got to go. We love it. It's exciting. Do you know what I mean? We're going to be talking about... wait, hang on 1 second. Where's it gone? Let me just pull it up here. 1 second. Sorry. Forgive me, mate.
No problem.
So we've got Xander Zayas versus Slawa Spomer. Someone's old has got to go. Both men's record, 20. Knockout percent. Let's talk about knockouts. Zayas, 12 knockouts. Spomer, 11 knockouts. Whoa. 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 What's going on here? This is matchmaking perfection. I love it. Wow. 20 wins. Both men have 20 wins on under their belt. But guess what? Someone's O has got to go. Yeah. Someone is going to take the L. Unless it goes to a draw. That's a whole nother story. But someone's O has got to go. Wow. Zayas, up and coming, prospect, young, going up against, well, I wouldn't say a veteran, but someone who's older than Zayas. Do you know what I mean? Now, you did mention to me previously that age is going to play a big factor in this fight. Yeah. If you could just remind me, what was the age again between both these fighters?
It's 20. I think it's Zayas is 22, and I think Spomer is 32. So he's not old.
Not old. He's not old. He's not old. He's not old. I personally believe Once you hit 32, that's your peak, that's your prime age. Do you know what I mean? Once you hit that 32, that's your prime age. So when people say, "Oh, 32 is old," no, it's not. That's his prime. That's your peak level. You know what I mean? After 32, that's when things start going a bit downhill. But you know what? This is going to be an exciting one. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be exciting. I personally believe that Zayas is going to pull this fight. I personally believe he's going to knock out Slawa, because if you look at the knockout percentage, yeah, for a young fighter to be knocking out people like that, comparing it to the opponent that's a bit older, it's always going to go to the young guy's favor, because the younger guy is going to be the much faster guy, stronger guy, more explosive, more aggressive. And then once you get to that older stage, you tend to use tactics more than punch power, knockout power. Because if you look at Floyd Mayweather for a prime example, Pretty Boy Floyd was doing damage. Money May, on the other hand, was a whole different fighter. Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like we've got Pretty Boy Floyd versus Mayweather here. We got an offensive fighter versus a defensive fighter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I see Zayas knocking out his opponent. You talk to me. Talk to us. How do you see this fight going?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, like you said before, excellent matchmaking. I mean, they're so well matched. I mean, you look, they both had the same amount of wins. They're both undefeated. They both got very similar knockout ratios. Like you said, Zayas got 12, Spomer's got 11. They're even the same height. They're both 5'10". I'm not sure about their reach. The reach might be slightly different there, but I mean, it's a great matchup. But overall, I think Xander Zayas I've watched a few of his fights. He's technically brilliant. He's very, very good. And he can whack quite a bit. Do you know what I mean? So I have to be honest with you. I'm looking at it from an age perspective, because that's the one thing that's really the main factor here. And I think that age factor is going to play a massive part of the fight. And I think, like you said as well, Zayas is going to be the fresher, the faster, and probably the more explosive of the two fighters as well. So I'll probably give it as well a stoppage victory for Xander Zayas, although it is the sport of boxing and you just never know. But I think it's also the technical ability of Xander Zayas will get him through the fight without getting stopped. And that's why I'm going for a Xander Zayas stoppage, and I'm going to say a late stoppage, not an early one.
I like that. All right, cool. Let's get on to the last little bit after February 14th, fight night, Valentine's Day special, shall I say. Let's go on to the last fight. We've got Abdullah Mason. He's going to be going up against Manuel Jaimes. Now, Abdullah Mason's record currently stands at 16 wins, 14 of those wins coming via knockout. Let's talk about his opponent, Jaimes. So Jaimes has 16 wins, also 11 coming via knockout, 2 losses and 1 draw on his resume. Who's got the better CV? Abdullah Mason.
Yeah.
But this is a very good matchup. I'm pretty impressed by the Americans. I don't really say this often, but round of applause to the American people. You know what I mean? Round of applause to the Americans for making this card. I feel like every fight on this card is pretty good match, pretty evenly matched. So I'm impressed by that. I'm impressed. You know what? It's going to be an epic fight night. But before we get into the overall talk about this event, let's talk about Abdullah Mason. Highly talked about, highly skilled, prospect, American, on the rise. We see a lot of great things for Abdullah Mason. The lightweight division itself is on fire right now, and you've got a lot of great talents coming from America, especially in the lightweight division. I see Abdullah Mason being one of the champions in the next year or two. Imagine Abdullah Mason going up against a guy called Keyshawn Davis. Wow, that's some crazy shit, man. That would be a crazy fight. But I feel like I know what the Americans are doing here. The Americans are trying to conquer each belt with a different fighter. Yeah. So most likely, if we're not wrong, Keyshawn Davis is going to become the WBO World Lightweight Champion this weekend.
Yeah.
Abdullah Mason, another future champion.
Yeah.
Another future champ. They're gonna make him a champion as well. So I feel like they're trying to conquer the lightweight division. The Americans, they're trying to conquer it. Do you know what I mean? They are trying to conquer that division. But look, WBC, the WBC lightweight belt is currently with Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
The WBA belt is with Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Denys Berinchyk currently holds the WBO belt, but he's going up against Keyshawn Davis this weekend. So that belt's going to be taken off him. So that's 3 Americans that own 3 major governing belts. The last one is the IBF belt. That's against Vasily Lomachenko. Fuck knows who's going to take that off him because Lomachenko is a bad boy fighter, you know what I mean? But I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but I just want to make that point so you can understand where I'm coming from about that point that I made with the Americans are trying to take over the lightweight division. So, yeah, man. Abdullah Mason, wow. Good fighter. He knows when to pick his shots right. He's got speed. He's got power. He's got the footwork. He is the package. He's a full package. Do you know what I mean? But the only thing I say is he's young. Do you know what I mean? He's inexperienced. As in, when he comes to that world level stage, like let's say if he was to face someone like Lomachenko right now, it's going to be a whitewash. Do you know what I mean? As far as him being a young putt and he needs a bit more experience for that level there, yeah. But as of where he's at right now and the matchmaking that they've made for him against Manuel Jaimes, perfect matchmaking. Perfect. Yeah. Yes, Jaimes has had more fights than Abdullah Mason. He's had more fights than Abdullah Mason, but whose record is better? Abdullah Mason's record is better than Jaimes. Jaimes, don't get it wrong, he's a good fighter as well. He's got power, he's got strong, but he's a bit of a wildcat. He likes throwing bombs, and his defense is not great. Now, whose defense is great? Abdullah Mason's defense is great. He has got great defense. He's a classic boxer, textbook fighter. Now, when you put a textbook boxer up against a brawler, a banger, it's their dream come true because a textbook boxer is just gonna wait for the brawler to get excited and throw their bangs, and as soon as they see an opening, bow, connect. And the good thing is, Abdullah Mason has got power, so when he does land a shot, he's gonna hurt you. As far as Jaimes, listen, if he lands on Abdullah Mason clean, it's gonna be problems for Abdullah Mason because that boy's got power in his hands. Before I give you a prediction, you know what I'm gonna ask you? What's your thoughts on this fight here, brother?
Well, again, I think it's good matchmaking by Top Rank because, you know, Abdullah Mason, 16 wins, 16 fights, 14 by KO, an exceptional record for this point in his career. And I still think he's got some more learning to do before he gets to that world level. Like you said, if he was to fight Lomachenko, I think there's a small opportunity for him to win because he's got that power factor. But I think Lomachenko, if it's a boxing match, just boxing, he's not got a chance to beat someone like a Lomachenko. So he needs more learning fights. He needs more building fights. And who better to put him against? And someone's got he's got a good record. He's had a couple of losses, but he's got decent punch power. And he's had quite a lot of wins as well. So I think it's good matchmaking. However, if I'm looking at prediction for the fight, I do think Abdullah Mason probably will win the fight. I'm not too sure how good Jaimes' chin is, but if he's got a good chin, then it may be a technical boxing match in which Abdullah Mason is going to whitewash him. But if he leaves too many openings and doesn't have the best of chin, then it's going to be another knockout victory for Abdullah Mason because this guy can really punch. Every time I watch him fight, I always think, damn, this guy is a serious puncher. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to go with a knockout victory, a late stoppage, 6-9, because I think like most brawler type fighters start to get tired when they get to about the 6th round. And I think that's when more openings will start appearing. But with that kind of a punch power, you never know. It could even be a 1st round stoppage. But that's my prediction. What's yours, my bro?
You know what? It's a hard one still. Both men have got the capability of winning. Both men have got the skills to pay the bills. Both men have got the skills to pay the bills. The difference is who wants it more? Who's gonna bring out that dog in them in the fight? Who's gonna want it more? Who wants this fight more? That's what's in my mind. I'm trying to think. Jaimes is a brawler, he's a banger, he's a doggy fighter. Abdullah Mason, textbook boxer. He's got a dog in him too. I'm gonna give this one to Abdullah Mason on a judge's scorecard. Yeah, this is going to the judge's scorecard, and I feel like Abdullah Mason has got the skills to pay the bills. He's got the skills to beat Jaime on a points-based decision, because Jaime is not just a pushover. You're not gonna walk all over him. You know what I mean? That boy's got power too. So yeah, Abdullah Mason for the win.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's a wrap for the February 14th Valentine's Day special fight night. February 14th. That's going to be on a Friday. So if you're getting jiggy with your missus or with your partner, make sure you watch this fight as well, these cards as well. You know what I mean? But let's move on to hometown. February the 15th, which is a Saturday. We've got Jack Catterall versus Arnold Barboza Jr. And this is going to be for the final eliminator for the WBO Super Lightweight title. And before we get into the fight, who is the current WBO Super Lightweight champion? Well, it's Teofimo Lopez Jr. So the winner of this fight is automatically gonna fight Teofimo Lopez. But before we get into that, let's talk about this fight here. Wow. Fucking love it. I fucking love it. Good matchmaking. This is not an easy fight for Jack Catterall.
No.
And this is not an easy fight for Arnold Barboza Jr. This is a hard fight for both men.
Yeah.
This is a very hard fight for both men. I'm not going to lie to you. Wow, what a good matchmaking. And it's crazy. I always say this as well. I've mentioned this a few times since 2025 has started, but what great fights we're getting this early on in the year. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely madness to see such great matchmaking, such great fights this early on in the year. Wow. Imagine what we've got later on down the year. Well, I can't even think of my brain will explode. I can't think of that. My brain will explode. But let's stick to this fight here. Catterall versus Barboza. Two textbook fights, two bangers, two brawlers. They've got a whole package. This is going to be a chess match. Southpaw versus Orthodox. These guys are going to wait to pick their shots. This is going to be a fight. This is going to be a counter fight. A counter puncher fight. Whoa. This is where the sweet science of boxing comes into play.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure most people have heard about the reference. This is the sweet science of boxing. If you want to know the meaning of the sweet science of boxing, stay tuned for this fight.
Yeah.
You need to watch this fight for you to understand what does the sweet science of boxing mean. And if you're a casual and you want to know what the meaning of that fight is, or the meaning of the word sweet science of boxing is, watch this fight. That's my recommendation to any casual out there. Watch this fight. This is going to be a fight of the master chess. You know what I mean? This is going to be such a scientific fight. Both men don't throw punches just for the sake of throwing punches. Each punch they throw is with mean intentions. And each punch they throw, best believe it's going to land. It's going to land. They've got a high percentage of landing shots on their opponents. Each of these fighters have got a high percentage of putting in work. This is going to be a classic fight. I can't wait for this fight. What a banging fight. February 15th. This is for the final eliminator for WBO. Teofimo Lopez better stay tuned. He better be watching these two. You know what I mean? I personally believe Jack Catterall is going to win this fight. I believe Jack Catterall has got the dog in him. I believe Jack Catterall he's more hungry. Yeah. You know what I mean? Jack Catterall is more hungry. Jack Catterall has been waiting for this opportunity for so long.
Yeah.
He wants this more. Jack Catterall wants this more. He's going to beat Arnold Barboza Jr. But let me ask you, what's your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, man, my thoughts on this fight is very similar to what you said. I mean, again, it's great matchmaking because you look at it and they got quite similar records. They got quite similar punch power. They're very technical. Like you said, it's going to be more of a chess match than it is like a barrage of shots. There's going to be like more the sweet science where they're like trying to hit the opponent and not get hit rather than just keep throwing shots. You hit me, I hit you sort of approach. So I think it's going to be a great fight. And I agree with you. Maybe we're being a little bit biased as being British boxing fans here, but I think Jack Catterall does have the slight edge. And I do think that what you said as well makes perfect sense. He's the more hungry because if you think about it, he clearly got robbed against Josh Taylor. He history as an undisputed champion and was clearly robbed in that fight. Then rematch so much after and then proved that it was not a fluke by beating Josh Taylor after that, but not winning any belts in the process of it, not winning the undisputed in the process of it. So now he's in a position where he's beaten a guy who he should have beaten before and was robbed of a decision. And now he's going to, if he wins this fight, he puts himself back into position to become a world champion again. So I think all the edges kind of go towards Jack Catterall, in my personal opinion. And the other factor is that Jack Catterall is a southpaw, and traditionally, orthodox fighters tend to struggle a bit more against southpaws. It's not always the case, but it is normally the case because most orthodox fighters train against other orthodox fighters because there's more of them. So I think, yeah, I'm going to give the prediction, Jack Catterall to win on a points victory. I'm not sure if it will be unanimous because they're both quite technically good fighters, but I think Jack Catterall should get the victory.
Yeah, I agree. I'm giving this one to Jack Catterall also on a points-based decision. Listen, both men have got the skills to knock each other out, and both men have got the skills to not get knocked out. This is where the sweet science of boxing comes into play. So if you want to know the meaning of sweet science of boxing, watch this fight here. But yeah, man, we've got an epic week of boxing coming this weekend. We've got the Valentine's Day special, Friday, February the 14th. Americans, Yankees, all of them lot, they're going to be in action. Great event, great fights. Look, even the thumbs up here. Great fights coming up. Then obviously bringing it back hometown, we've got our own boy Jack Catterall in action Saturday, February the 15th. It's going to be an absolute classic weekend of fights. You do not want to miss this one. If you're a casual boxing fan, this weekend you must stay tuned. If you want to get into the sport of boxing, this weekend you must stay tuned. If you want your dick to get hard, no, I'm joking. I'm messing around. Anyways, that's this weekend's episode done. It's a wrap. Yeah, you're watching Saved by the Bell podcast with me, H, and my co-host Dark Side of the Moon. You don't want to miss next week's episode. You do not want to miss next Monday's episode. I'm telling you lot from now. We've got the biggest card coming. The biggest card ever. February 22nd. This is going to be crazy. If you want to know what card I'm talking about, you come back next weekend Monday. I will give you that as well. Do you know what I mean? But for right now, me and my co-host are gone. We'll catch you lot on the rebound. Bosh.
Peace.